Hi, and welcome to the Art of Film Funding. I'm your co-host, Claire Papin, along with writer-producer Carol Dean, author of the best-selling book, The Art of Film Funding, and host of this show. Carol is the president of From the Heart Productions, a nonprofit organization that has supported filmmakers with the Roy W. Dean Grant, fiscal sponsorship, education, and resources for over 30 years. Carol also teaches the Learn Producing class. Each class features an industry expert guest instructor and is designed to give the information, guidance, and support to become a successful producer. You can learn more about this class and all of From the Heart Productions offerings at FromTheHeartProductions.com. Our guest today is Beth Dolan. She is an award-winning writer, producer, and documentary filmmaker, and a graduate of Carnegie-Mellon University's College of Fine Arts. In recent years, she's turned her attention fully with producing and creative partners Luis Remesar and Sheila Higgins to social justice-themed documentary storytelling. Their recently released documentary, Stranger at Home: Healing the Psychological Wounds of War, currently airs and streams on national PBS and the World Channel. Their latest documentary, Welcome Home, is a story focused on establishing a comprehensive national reintegration program for our service members. Beth is also the proud producer and host of the podcast Being Deliberately, and consults regularly on how to get a social justice documentary to distribution on PBS. Find out more at CoyotePassProductions.com. And Carol, Beth won the Roy Dean Film Award for her film Stranger at Home.
Yes, that's right, Claire. And thank you so much for joining us, Beth.
It's my pleasure to be here with you beautiful ladies again, Carol and Claire. Thank you so much for your just gracious intro. And I just love conversation with both of you.
Perfect, perfect, because welcome home is a powerful concept. So let's start with you sharing what inspired you to focus on this story and why you feel it's essential today.
Well, documentary filmmaking. So our film Stranger at Home, which is a military themed documentary that's in distribution now. And in that film, we got to the thing behind the thing, like, why do we have a military mental health crisis? And we also brought forward the solutions to end that crisis. And so our new documentary, Welcome Home, really is a very natural spin-off of that documentary. Welcome Home focuses the story on what would it look like to have the grandest, greatest, warmest welcome back for our service members and their families. Presently, we have none. We have not had a comprehensive national military veteran reintegration program in this country since, get ready, folks, the end of World War II, 1945. It was a program was put into place, a comprehensive program at that time by President Roosevelt, who said, we will help these people coming back comprehensively. Mental health, physical health, spiritual help, vocational therapy, family therapy. It was cutting edge at the time. And once the war ended and President Roosevelt died in office, it got shelved, that program, which is just heartbreaking. There hasn't been a comprehensive national program to welcome our service members home since that time. And of course, as we all know, we've had many, many war conflicts and situations since 1945. So it's time. That's, and as we are all looking at the traumas of the world, and we are all experiencing those at the really, consciousness level. A pandemic, a world pandemic put us all into that place of understanding what trauma is a bit more. The mental health conversation is huge right now. And it's not just those military people over there who've got the issues and the problems and the PTSD and all of that. We are all in it right now. And so that's why Welcome Home is just this natural and purposeful storytelling spin-off, and what we can do as documentary filmmakers to keep that conversation going.
This
So
is wonderful, Beth, because you recognize, first of all, you made an important film for all of us to say, look, we have a problem. Here's the problem. And
yeah.
now you're following up with a film that can make changes and initiate what we need to reintegrate servicemen. This is fantastic. And I honor you for taking this on because it's a 4 to 5 year project. I'm sure you realize.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure, Carol. I keep saying, I feel like Michael Corleone in Godfather 3, I try to get out and they pull me back in. It's this this is not this is not romantic comedy storytelling. This is really just human nature, what need, what we need, and storytelling that we are just continuously being impelled and compelled to stay the course and be, to tell those stories, to keep that conversation going. So yeah, thank you very much. I'm honored to be, a filmmaker and be on the path and feel purposeful. And at the same time, it's both and. It's like, oh my gosh, it all feels so big sometimes, right now, as you are well aware, just a massive, massive heart and compassion for everyone in our beloved California, and especially LA County, that is just decimated right now from the wildfires and the trauma. They haven't even begun to the journey of healing and rebuilding. They're just still in it right now, and and the news reports are real. I mean, I don't live in it anymore. I got my spouse and I got out of that stress as of mid-August, and I'm on a snow-packed mountain in Maryland right now, speaking to you, where we have our East Coast production office now, and I'm on the other side of the phone calls. For years and years, we got the phone calls around this time, wildfire time, are you alive? Are you safe? And now we're making the calls to the people that we care about out there. And so then the news footage is real. It really is. It's a horrifying thing to watch. And the trauma that has to be talked about, has to be addressed. And it's as filmmakers, talking about the mental health crisis with our military, it's so pertinent, relevant, and crossover to all of humankind right now. And more than ever, there's an openness to the discussion. So that's why we stay in the trench with making these kinds of films. And Carol, you are the glue. From the Heart Productions is the glue that keeps us anchored, into something when it all just seems so like big, and how do we keep going? So I just want to take a moment and thank you and bless you for the work that you do and the support you give filmmakers like us. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you, Beth. How very kind of you. I think we're back to Mother Teresa, who said that people doing small things can make a major impact.
Yeah.
So, and there is a parallel because it's loss. These
Yeah.
soldiers lost their home when they left. It's totally different when they come back. And this is what's happening in LA with the lost home and
Absolutely.
perhaps jobs and friends and neighbors, etc. So the
Yeah.
thing is that you know what you're doing and you're the right one to make this film. So
Thank you.
all of us are behind you. So since you were saying that we haven't had a reintegration program since World War II,
Right.
you think are the consequences of this gap, and how do you see it affecting service members and their families?
That's a superb question. The consequences of not having a warm, comprehensive, real, fully funded, fully operational national program, what that the consequences of that are cumulative and they're exponential. So when we talk about a military mental health crisis, which people are sick of hearing those words, but the truth of it is the symptoms of that crisis, they're even sicker of the symptoms of hearing about those. The symptoms of that are just rampant veteran military homelessness, incarceration, military veteran incarceration, and of course, the big one that everyone is so sick of hearing about are the 22 military suicides per day, which is a low number. That's the reported number. And that number has been going on now for about 20 years. So the crisis those are the headliners of the crisis of the consequences of the crisis that affect us all, that affect us at every level, and and so because there is no um, real program that brings these folks back, provides them with, connects them into all the resources. We've met in our journey of making Stranger at Home and now with Welcome Home. Carol, we have met, God, there are thousands of on the ground nonprofit organizations across this country that are dedicated to helping veterans and their families in every capacity, from the service dogs to finding a home to they're everywhere, and they are not connected by a national program whatsoever. So they all struggle to make do their fundraising, to put out hang their shingle, and veterans and their family members are not able to access easily that information. So it's a big question. It's like, why? Why does it have to be this siloed, scramble as you can effort for these folks that have given everything? And when they come back, they're leading very different lives in the military. They're organized in a way and trained in a way to everything is scheduled for them so that they can serve and do execute the training that they've been trained for to serve our country. So now they're coming back and they're struggling to reintegrate that change. Like, how do I get a job? How do I come back? And how do I find schools for my kids? The military took care of that before. How do I make medical appointments? The military took care of that before. So it's this retraining, it's all these resources. And so there's just a disconnect that exists, and it doesn't have to. So that's what, the program that was done by, mandated from the top down, that's the program that was put into place. Service members, men, I'm sorry to say, ladies, this at the time men were serving. This program, they were coming right off the transport ships, and they were not sent back home right away. They were brought into this program. It was a pilot program, by the way. And it was 3 weeks or 3 to 7 weeks where they were helped. And shell shock was the psychological, mental health, spiritual piece that they were dealing with, on top of how do they come back and get jobs and all of those things. You can't think about getting a job if you're messed up in your mind. You can't focus, function. And so this program really addressed comprehensively body, mind, and spirit, um, their needs coming right off the transport ships. And at the time, this is the shocker for us,
Yeah.
that at the time, director, acclaimed director John Huston, who was enlisted in the military at the time, he was in the Army, he was tasked by the military, because the military had been mandated by President Roosevelt to create this program. He was then tasked, ordered to record this program. This was his very first documentary, John Huston, in the Army at the end of
I
World
know
War II.
that, Beth. I know that because my friend Sonny Fasoulis was
Yeah,
a navigator, uh,
yeah,
and he was in. He talked about. Well, he became good friends with Houston, but it
yeah,
all started when Houston was on the plane he was on, and the more flak, the more
yes,
bombs going off around him, the more excited Houston became. And Sonny said he was running from window to window and getting every shot. Forget
yeah,
about dying. It's wonderful. Neither of those men thought they were going to die in the war. And
yeah,
Sonny made an enormous amount of successful bombing trips, and
yeah,
was never, well, he was injured and captured many times, but he lived. And
yeah,
they come out of the war. Some of the guys come out of the war with that feeling that they are invincible, and some come out feeling that they can never get it together again. They just can't find. But see, things have changed since they were bombing inside of a plane bombing. Now, the
yeah,
troops come home with so many more physical illnesses and limbs. They lose so
yes,
many limbs because of this, that it's a totally different world. But
it is. It is.
Houston loved what he did, and I don't know where all those films went. Did you follow that?
Yes, we did. And we tell the story in Stranger at Home. So yeah, I mean, Sonny's story, a World War II bomber. I mean, you can't, every story matters. And I don't know if he ever like got things off of his heart of what he saw and did and all of that before he left this mortal coil. But John Huston, to your question, John Huston, as a filmmaker and in the military, he recorded the program, and the film is called Let There Be Light. It's a documentary.
Oh,
And yes, it is a feature-length documentary. There's not an actor in it. It's all true soldiers. And you can see it's black and white. And it's melodramatic music from that time, but you see them, they are vacant in their eyes. They're decimated. And by the end of the film and the program that they went through, that he recorded it, there's something coming back into their beings that's a little more healed. Now, so this film was this film had it was scheduled to have its public, not military, but public premiere at the New York, I think the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. And at the very last moment, Carol, the military police, they got cold feet, came in and confiscated the film. And you may
oh,
ask, yeah, and shelved it. They classified it, they shelved it, and it was not seen by the public. So this was a film that they were tasked by the commander in chief to make, a program that they were tasked by the commander in chief to establish. Then the film they tasked John Huston to make, and then they came in and took their film and classified it, put it on a shelf, and it wasn't until 45 years later and Jimmy Carter's administration, Walter Mondale found the film in the archives and declassified it. And folks can go and watch this film, this what this program looked like, cutting edge. I mean, they had art therapy, they had all the things that we know today, Carol, that are healing therapies. They had those in this program. And they defined mental illness in such a compassionate and true way in this film. It was the Army's language, the military's language, that they said, oops, we don't want to, have the public hear this. Us taking accountability, responsibility, compassionate understanding of this. We don't want that to be seen now. And so, anyway, people can see this film. It is on YouTube. It is Let There Be Light by John Huston, his very first documentary film. And so, yeah, and we just were the reboot, Stranger at Home. We could use that footage in our film. It was public domain. And we use a lot of the footage from Let There Be Light. We of course credit it, and our principal speaker speaks about John Huston in our film, Stranger at Home. So we're the reboot of Let There Be Light. Why has it been under wraps and under dust for so long? So that's the sad part. But in our film, we say, let's reestablish that program. Why don't we have that program? So that's where it sits. That's the story of the next film, which is, this is what it would look like, folks. There's a lot more light in Welcome Home because there are so many groups on the ground that are trying to do it regionally, trying to do a military veteran reintegration program regionally. And golly, what would it look like to have all sectors of this country, corporate, nonprofit, military, civilian, all coming together to fully fund, make fully operational, and establish into legislation once and for all a national program for our service members. I believe in every fiber of my being, we would no longer have a mental health crisis in our military because we would be getting these folks help when they got out immediately, before they got out, a program that would reach out to them 2 years before their discharge and say, this is what's going to be different when you come out, and we're here for you. So it's a no-brainer, but it all just seems like really we're still doing this in fragmented pieces, but on paper it's a no-brainer. So that's my 2 cents.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, now, that's what you're talking about was called the GI Bill in 1944. They gave men educational training and benefits. They got financial assistance to go to school or vocational training. They got high school diplomas. They had loan guarantees. The government backed low interest loans. They had unemployment compensation, the 5220. Well, in those days, $20 a week was 1994 was
yes.
They had a whole year of that, and then they had their medical care and disability. So, tell me what you're envisioning for what you think.
Well, I think you're spot on. There's the GI Bill's been in place forever and ever and ever, and so many enlisted in all the war events over the years to have the GI Bill. My brothers did that from when they enlisted in the Army. The GI Bill, it does provide that education, all of that. There are benefits, medical benefits. The thing of it is that if you have psychological problems, it's the psychological piece that is still the bugaboo. Right. The climate of stigma, mental health stigma within the military still exists. And so if you do put your hand up and say, I'm having problems with my 3rd deployment, I'm having problems with coming back, PTSD doesn't raise its ugly head sometimes for years for people. So that's the GI Bill, the medical benefits. You do not, if you are discharged for PTSD issues, psychological issues, you do not get full benefits. And most folks don't know that. That exists today. So even though we, as a general population, we believe in the GI, we believe that the GI Bill exists, we believe that the medical benefits exist, there are big gaps. And so what the envision for a national program looks like is it goes back to what I said a short while ago, is like, if you're messed up from the experience, traumatically messed up, and you don't have to serve in combat to be messed up, the training alone of being in the military and being around the energy of the stress of your colleagues who are on the front line, you know, like, I know you can speak to this, Carol. You're feeling the energy. You're safe for the moment, thank God, where you are in California. But you are so feeling the stress and the trauma of everyone just 45 minutes, around you.
Yes.
And, and that is true for the military as well. You don't have to serve on the front line to have PTSD. And it also doesn't mean that you're going to have PTSD if you serve on the front line. So I want to make that very clear. The military training alone, which is they have to override a soldier's central nervous system in order for them to do the job that they are signed up to do, that most of us will never do or want to do. Human beings by nature are not programmed to kill other human beings. And so that is the training in the military. And that alone, that training, as our principal in Stranger at Home said, our Navy psychologist who saw it all, he said, we work so hard to psychologically train our people to do the job that they have to do using psychology. We don't untrain them psychologically. So, having said that, you can have the GI Bill waiting for you. You can know that the medical benefits are out there if you're able to advocate for yourself and get them. But if you are offline in your central nervous system, and it's very difficult to focus. It's very difficult to, to know. It's just a very difficult thing to want to even get an education and learn. It's like we have to heal that. We have to look at the total body healing, and the climate of stigma in the military doesn't fully allow for that yet, of a national program of full body healing, full body therapy, full body attention is what the nature of a national program would really, look like, comprehensive, and help people, mend every aspect of themselves or to the best of their ability in order to live a productive life as a civilian once again. So the expectation that a soldier and their family member they're just scrambling to like make sense of anything, that they are going to be like ready to get a job and ready to get an education. It's all great in theory, but if you don't know who you are, that's our title, Stranger at Home. If you don't know who
Yeah,
you are, then none of that makes any sense. So
that's right.
so
Yes, you are so right. Now, what you have,
yeah.
uh, what you're thinking is that storytelling can make the case for this reintegration program, right?
Well, yes. I mean, thanks, Carol. And you're always such a great teacher of what's your story. When we're storytellers, we really are, and that's what filmmaking is, telling a story. And I also want to add that I believe from just the journey of being on this path with, so many military, veteran, active duty, and their family members for so long, the stories, every single one of them matters. All of our stories matter. We all have a story. And that's, for me, that's always the starting point. I mean, Sonny has a story. Your Sonny has had a story. John Huston had a story. And when we can come from that uh, lived and um, experiential, expressive place, uh, I think, I know in my heart that that's what um, lands on others. It's an identification thing. So yes, as ever, our new documentary, Welcome Home, focused on what it would look like to have an incredibly grand and the best national program um, that they deserve. It leads with telling those stories and what they need, to come back. So that's my answer for storytelling first.
Okay, so it's community and connections to the community, right? That's what you want to build it around, a
Uh,
strong community.
yeah, yeah, thank you. Thank you. I love those words, connection, and community. I think they're one and the same. We're all connected. I know that in my soul. And we're all part of a greater entity. And how that looks in how we can understand that in the life experience is in community. We're we're tribal people, we're tribal beings. Human beings are pack animals. We need each other. Boy, do we need each other. I can't imagine doing the work that I do without others. It's fully collaborative. It's fully like, what do you do well? Oh, please join us. What do you do well? Please join us. We do not create in vacuums. And we don't live in vacuums either. It's not healthy to isolate, to close off from our packs. And so community, I think what's, a real specific answer to the themes of our films, it's really about, I mean, I want people to hear that I'm a civilian with a very, very deep, like you, Carol, very deep military family history. It goes way back, but I'm a civilian. And what I've learned in humbly and just informationally is that as a civilian, we have to join the military communities in learning, in being open, in understanding what they live through, and as a community, a mil civ community, we all need to change the course of things and make welcoming home people a model for how we reintegrate. And it's a model for someone who may be coming out of the prison system.
Exactly, Beth.
Right, right.
Yes, and if you bring that home, Sing Sing is a story
Yeah,
about a man who had a redemption. I haven't seen it yet, but
yeah,
he worked in a Shakespearean play.
yeah,
Now, Joanne Spitzmiller, who we both know,
yeah,
did Shakespeare Behind Bars years ago, and it was that prison program that they used to make that film. It was her documentary they based it on.
yeah,
That, in my opinion, I mean, she made that film, and now they've created Sing Sing. But see, this follows with your statement of art, getting art classes. That would mean connecting to theaters and the community where theaters welcomed returning vets, maybe for free. They donated services,
yeah,
and filmmaking classes free, art classes free, and so that they can express themselves, because this is the problem,
yeah,
getting that emotion out of the body and onto something else, not another human either.
yeah.
acting it out or playing it out or making
Yes.
a movie, right?
Yes, Carol, without question, you know as well as I do that art matters big time, especially in
Right.
consciousness at this point. It just does. It's a way out. It's letting energy move through you and out of you. When it stays inside of you and it doesn't have a release, that's when we have this ongoing situations like before the fires in California we were all looking at what happened in New Orleans and what happened in Las Vegas. That was a veteran and an active duty soldier that had isolated and closed down, and when that happens, that's when tragedy and everything, that's the issue right there. And
Yes.
how do we keep reaching out that warm hand and saying, you're not alone, come back in over here. But art is matters. We've been privileged to meet so many military veteran filmmakers on this path. They're telling their own stories through filmmaking. It's awesome. I mean, that's where I have to go. These guys have the story, and if they can get it on the screen, yes, absolutely. So, more of that. We're at a crescendo point in consciousness where we just have to keep um, I want to say educating ourselves about the nature of trauma, about, reflect on the human condition deeply, and talk about the whole body experience, mind, body, spirit, with deep honor and admiration, and know that it all works together. And so, you know, it- people are doing that in art, and it's profound. That. So you're spot
That's
on. Yeah.
well, Beth. I know that I know you work with filmmakers who make commercials, features, and documentaries, but I
Yeah.
want you to share some of the work that you and the Coyote Productions do.
Well, yeah, thank you. I appreciate the nod. We, in fact, I wanna give folks, I'm just gonna say this out loud. Claire, you were kind enough to sort of give, our way to reach out through Coyote Pass Productions. And indeed, I would rather just have folks reach out to me at beth@strangerathome.org. So it's beth@strangerathome.org. And that's really our brand right now, and where we're living all of what's occurred for us with our social justice, military themed doc filmmaking in the last, quite a few years, Carol. So, Coyote Pass Productions started us off with, you know, PSAs, that mattered to us, public service announcements that mattered to us, with short form documentaries that mattered to us. This was all for hire, people coming to us and saying, we would like we'd like to tell this story. And we were like, okay, this is what we can help you with, from development all the way through delivery. But in recent years, we've really just set ourselves off with our brand at strangerathome.org, to do what we want to do, to do the stories that we want to tell. And Coyote Pass Productions has been our banner for a long time. But boy, we're really in the in the strangerathome.org world at this point. So it's both and. So that's what we do, and we're creating our all of our virtual events with our impact tour. It's been quite a journey of being in this lane of messaging, and the need keeps presenting itself, and we keep showing up with events and with impact tours, and just trying to keep the conversation going like this, just getting on a podcast, this special podcast with you, Carol, and talking about it again. So can't talk about it enough.
This is very important, Beth, because we have to keep this alive and moving. It's
Yeah.
a major issue that's been neglected. And it's only through film like this, a documentary like this, can
Thank
turn things around.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I believe in the reach and the power of films. I just do. And it would be a hubris statement for me to say that I don't tire of, like, how do we do this? How do we keep going? How do we keep funding? But because it's true, it takes a lot to stay with it. But what overrides everything is my belief in films, and that people want real stories that are what documentaries are about. So you've been a huge champion of that, and you've kept us in the trench for as long as we're here, Carol. So, kudos. It's true. It's both and.
Well, it's the knowledge that once you finish the film, you think, wow, what a great achievement. But then, no, now the job is
Yeah.
to distribute it yourself, really, to
Yeah.
get it in the hands of the people that can make change.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, we have a, it's like I have to keep really just reminding and renewing on the why. And, if our films really impact legislation, that's like, oh, let's, bring it. Bring it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So, and I believe that films, especially documentaries, social justice documentaries, have the power to do that. So, yep. I'm,
Yes. And you
yep.
got it on PBS. Congratulations. I
Thank,
hear
thank you so
that's
much.
not easy, Beth. So you're helping other filmmakers now to put
Thank,
films on PBS.
yes, it's my pleasure, for whatever I can offer. Because I was given such mentorship and guidance to get to public television. Um, so whatever I can offer in return is a pleasure and an honor. So yeah, we did very well. We've got another 2 years in distribution on PBS and the World Channel, and they did another, brilliant, brilliant run with us over Veterans Day this past November. We're prime time. We've gotten prime time viewing. We've gotten to 84% of the country. And when I started this journey of making Stranger at Home, I said, this film has to get in front of a public audience. I'm the public. I didn't know about this stuff. I didn't know the thing behind the thing, the reason for a crisis. I didn't understand any of that. And so that's why it was just imperative that I said, God, if I didn't know, I have to believe that the general public doesn't know. So there's been such a want and desire from PBS National and the World Channel to broadcast us, to stream us. So yeah, I appreciate all of it. And again, until we have something in legislation and there's a real program out there, then maybe the work isn't done yet. So I can keep talking about it, is what I'm trying to say.
Keep talking about it. No, that's what it takes, consistency. It's
Yeah.
the, I say that tenacity is the backbone of the filmmaker.
Yep.
There, don't give
Yep.
up.
Yep. There's a little bit of tenacity and a lot of insanity, Carol. So,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
thank you, Beth. Thank you so much. Claire and I'd love to have you come back and join us in a year, and we'll see where you are with your new film. So thank
Yes. Thank you for having me. And I'd love you to have our director, Sheila Higgins,
Oh,
brilliant,
yeah.
eloquent voice. She's in the trench with directing this one. I'm her producer. And it's a real honor to see what she's doing with this. So yes, we'd love to come back. We love you guys, and can't thank you enough for keeping the conversation going with us.
Well, it's very important. Claire, thank you for hosting the show and for being part of podcast.
Yes, as always. And Beth, keep up the good work. This is amazing stuff you're doing and very needed. And I know that this can land in the hearts of a lot of people, no matter what kind of background they have, work they've done. And so keep going with it. Thank you. And it's an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you, Claire. You guys are awesome. You really are.
Thank you so much, Beth. Big hug to Lewis.
I will. And love to everybody at From the Heart Productions.
Thank you.
Now, in its second edition, Carol Dean's popular book, The Art of Film Funding, has 12 new chapters to cover all areas of film financing and how to avoid expensive pitfalls. Learn how to start with an idea and end with a trailer, how to make an ask for money, create your story structure and your trailer, legal advice, fair use, successful crowdfunding, how to ask for music rights, and what insurance you can't shoot without. Available on Amazon under Carol Dean and at FromTheHeartProductions.com. I want to remind our listeners that David Rakelin is a brilliant and talented award-winning musician who scores films and can compose music for a trio or for a full orchestra. David is a very good friend to the independent filmmaker and comes highly recommended by From the Heart Productions. If you need music to help tell your story, please contact him at davidrakelin.com. That's David, RAIKLEN.com. And Carol and I want to thank you for tuning in to The Art of Film Funding. Please visit our website at FromTheHeartProductions.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Good luck with your films, everyone.